In a previous video, we established that the Anunnaki may have come from Mars. They survived whatever destroyed it, came here, found hominids that were already present, and modified one line of them into what became modern humans. That raised another question for me, though. If the Anunnaki modified whatever was already here, how did whatever was already here get here? Earth had multiple intelligent hominid species running for millions of years before any would-be Martian survivors would have arrived. Something generated the biological complexity that gave the Anunnaki some clay to work with when they got here. And if you follow that question back one more step, whoever or whatever seeded the Earth with life also had to come from somewhere, which means the Anunnaki creation story isn't the beginning. It might be somewhere in the middle. Here's what the evidence actually shows. When the Anunnaki arrived, the Earth wasn't empty. It wasn't simple. Multiple intelligent hominid species were already here, already interbreeding, already running what looks like a long biological experiment that had been going for millions of years. Neanderthals, Denisovans, early Homo sapiens, and as of a study published only a few days ago, at least 2 other unknown populations who left DNA in modern humans without leaving a single bone anywhere in the fossil record. Someone or something was responsible for all that before the Anunnaki would have even gotten here, and the evidence for who or what that was comes from a man who discovered DNA. In 1953, Francis Crick and James Watson published the structure of DNA, and Crick won the Nobel Prize for it. 20 years later, he published a paper in the journal Icarus with a chemist named Leslie Orgel from the Salk Institute, proposing that life on Earth was deliberately seeded here by an advanced extraterrestrial civilization. The co-discoverer of DNA spent the next 2 decades arguing that life on Earth came from somewhere else. He called it directed panspermia, and his central argument came from something that he spent his whole career looking at: the genetic code. Every living thing on Earth uses the same one, the same 4 base pairs, the same 64 codons, the same 20 amino acids from blue whales to every person alive. The underlying molecular language is identical. Crick argued that universality on that scale points to a single origin. If life had emerged independently multiple times across Earth's history, you'd expect different codes to have developed. If everything uses the same one, that means everything came from the same place, and that seems pretty reasonable to me. He also pointed to molybdenum, which is an element that living organisms use in enzymes at concentrations far higher than what exists in the Earth's crust. His argument was that organisms evolved in a world where molybdenum was abundant, and Earth is just where they ended up. It's worth noting that he described directed panspermia as a plausible alternative worth taking seriously, but he said that he and Orgel didn't have strong arguments for it, just 2 weak facts that felt relevant. But despite that, he kept returning to it. He wrote a full book on it in 1981 called Life Itself, and he was making this argument from 1971 until the late 1980s. Most origin of life researchers work within ambiogenesis, the idea that life emerged from chemistry on early Earth through natural processes. The RNA world hypothesis proposes self-replicating RNA molecules preceded both DNA and proteins. Hydrothermal vents have produced amino acids in lab conditions, and that has been confirmed by science. The problem is no one's solved it. No one's demonstrated how you go from chemistry to the first self-replicating molecule. How the ingredients of life put themselves together on early Earth in the time that was available. The origin of life is one of those open questions in science, which is one of the only reasons that Crick's alternative theory gets any attention at all. The genetic code's universality has no clean explanation within standard origin of life explanations. The molybdenum problem has no clean explanation for Earth's natural chemistry, and over 100 confirmed Martian meteorites have been found on Earth, so the mechanism for material traveling between planets is established. Life traveling the same way is physically possible. Around 540 million years ago, the fossil record does something kind of crazy that has messed with biologists since Darwin first wrote about it. For roughly 3 billion years before that, which is most of Earth's existence, life was microscopic. Bacteria, single-celled organisms, simple forms. Then in a geological window of about 20 million years, almost every major animal body plan that has ever existed just appeared. Complex eyes, limbs, nervous systems, shells, coordinated organisms of every kind. All of them showing up in a fossil record with no clear precursor forms showing how they got there. Darwin wrote about this in 1859. He said several of the main divisions of the animal kingdom suddenly appear in the lowest known fossiliferous rocks. If my theory be true, it is undisputable that before the lowest Cambrian stratum was deposited, long periods elapsed during which the world swarmed with living creatures. To the question, why do we not find rich fossiliferous deposits belonging to these assumed earliest periods, I can give no satisfactory answer. In the 160 years since that was written, researchers have found Ediacaran fauna, multicellular organisms from before the Cambrian. And the popular view is that rising oxygen levels and the development of hard body parts that fossilize well explain most of the apparent suddenness. That could also be a reasonable explanation. What's still open is the absence of intermediary steps. Each new body plan in the Cambrian appears essentially fully formed. The gradual transitions that evolutionary theory requires are largely missing from the fossil record, despite 160 years of specifically looking for them. Darwin called this a valid argument against his own theory. In 2018, a team including researcher Chandra Wickramasinghe published a paper in Progress in Biophysics and Molecular Biology arguing that the Cambrian explosion is best explained by the arrival of cosmic genetic material, viruses and organic compounds from space simultaneously injecting new biological information into the existing biosphere. And just this week, a team of researchers at UC Berkeley published research that connects all of this to the Anunnaki hypothesis. Published July 30th, 2026, they identified two previously unknown hominid populations in the modern human genome. Ghost ancestors is their term. DNA from populations that left no fossil record anywhere. No bones, no teeth, no tools, just the genetic material in people alive today from a lineage that existed over 1 million years ago. The super archaic finding is particularly exciting because it reveals genetic contributions from a human lineage that lived over 1 million years ago, despite the absence of any sequenced DNA from that population. That's from the paper. A lineage 1 million years old contributing DNA to modern humans and leaving no physical trace anywhere in the fossil record. Separately, Princeton University published research in July of 2026 mapping 200,000 years of human Neanderthal interbreeding. 3 distinct waves at 200 to 250,000 years ago, 100 to 120,000 years ago, and 50 to 60,000 years ago. Modern humans were in sustained contact and interbreeding with multiple related hominid species across a vast stretch of time. So if the Anunnaki arrived from Mars, they didn't land on a planet with one dominant species waiting to be upgraded. They landed on a planet running multiple simultaneous experiments in human-adjacent intelligence. Neanderthals, Denisovans, and at least 2 unknown ghost ancestor populations. Early Homo sapiens, all of them interbreeding across hundreds and thousands of years. The Sumerian texts say the Anunnaki selected one line, and they took that clay to mold and work with. The genetics video we did established that human-accelerated regions rewrote themselves specifically in one population's cognitive sequences in a window that standard evolution struggles to account for. What if the Martian survivors arrived on a planet already running a long biological program? Multiple intelligent hominid species produced by whatever or whoever seeded the Earth hundreds of millions of years earlier. And then they ran their own modification on just one branch of the latest product. There's 2 separate interventions here, the initial seeding that eventually produced hominids and the later cognitive upgrade that produced humans. Same planet, completely different timescales. Crick and Orgel listed 3 reasons an advanced civilization might deliberately seed life on another world. One is a lab experiment across an entire planet to prepare a world for eventual colonization or to preserve their own genetic material against the possibility of a catastrophe on their own world. A laboratory experiment. Earth is a long-running biological program, seeded, left to develop, checked on and modified at specific points as the experiment progresses. Preparation for colonization. The Anunnaki arriving on a world that had been running for hundreds of millions of years, finding it ready with hominids already present and implementing their final stage. Preparation against catastrophe. Mars died. Whatever survived came here to a world prepared in advance, and found biology already built on the same underlying molecular code because the code came from the same original source. The universal genetic code points to a single origin. The Cambrian explosion produced complex animal life in a geological instant with no clear precursors. Ghost ancestors left DNA in modern humans without leaving a single bone. The HAR modifications upgraded hominid cognition in a window that standard evolution just can't account for. Each of those is a puzzle piece that sits in various different parts of research with no clean resolution. But if you put them all in the same box, I'm sure they'll figure out a way to play nice together. If life on Earth was deliberately seeded and the Anunnaki arrived here to find what was already produced, who do you think did the original seeding? And what does that make the Anunnaki in that chain? What if the seeding of this planet was part of an earlier mission, kind of like what we would do if we were terraforming Mars? We would go there, start the process. We would have to go back and check on that process to check the status and see how long we're progressing. And then when conditions were right, we would colonize. If life on Earth was intentionally seeded, it wouldn't have happened overnight. Someone would have come here, start the process, and they would have to repeatedly come back here and check on it to make sure it's going the way that they planned. And if it's not, they would have to make adjustments and then check on it again. Could that be all the DNA sequence edits that we have? Every time they come down, they're like, let's make this tweak here. We don't like the way this is going. Let's make this tweak here. And then we have 3,171 now modifications in only us. And the accounts from the texts of the Anunnaki arriving from the sky and spending some time here and then leaving again kind of aligns with all that as well. Let me know what your thoughts are on this. Do you think that life was seeded intentionally here on Earth, or do you think we ultimately came from the result of geological, chemical, and biological processes on the planet? As always, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate your time. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe, like. I would love to hear your comments on this one. Until next time, I'll talk to you later.